Welcome back, everyone. Good to see everyone. We got Dylan Zane here with us today. So, Dylan, appreciate you hopping on. Excited to share insights. We met Dylan at our event in New York City. And they're doing a bunch of cool stuff in the investment world and sports. So, a lot to come out of this one.
What's up, guys? Andrew, thank you for having me. Excited to be here and looking forward to kind of talking everything sports, media, and entertainment.
Dylan, give us a high level. Who are you? Velocity, what are you guys doing? We can start to get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, maybe I'll just give like a quick background and then we can get into the velocity stuff. So I'm originally from Westchester County. I grew up a massive Yankee fan. And honestly, even growing up as a kid, I was trying to find ways to kind of marry my love for sports with business. I went to UT Austin. I graduated in 2017. And around 2017 is when, or at least from my perspective, all of this transaction activity was happening within sports. So I was at Rothschild in their tech media and telecom group, but 2017, 2018, 2019, like UFC gets acquired by Endeavor, Liberty, F1, the Yes Network, which is the Yankees RSN, did a transaction with Amazon and Blackstone. Sports betting was legalized in 2018. And then I think in like 21 or so, name, image, and likeness became like a real thing. And I just decided that somehow, some way I needed to work in sports. So cold emailed everyone I could within the space. I made a bunch of decks with like Dylan's thoughts on sports, Dylan's thoughts on media, Dylan's thoughts on sports betting, blasted it to everyone in the world. Ended up getting a job at Evolution Media Capital. That's the in-house merchant bank for CAA. From there, my boss, one of his closest work friends was David Abrams. David is the managing partner at Velocity. And over the course of, kind of 6 to 12 months, started working more and more with David and basically went back to my old boss and said, if you promise me you won't hate me, I want to give this a shot. Ended up making the transition to Velocity in 2021. So I was actually our first employee and have been here, I guess, technically since 22.
Amazing. Yeah. And sports, like you outlined, has gone through a lot of changes. Now, give us high level on Elevate. I know you guys came out really running, doing some big deals that people will be familiar with. And you're you said first hire there. I mean, what are you, VP? Like you're pretty big on the decision making side and doing these deals. So go a little bit into that, how you guys operate, and then also some of the deals you've done in the space so far.
Yeah, so Velocity is a specialized sports media and entertainment focused private equity fund. We've made 6 investments to date. I would say, typically speaking, this is just my perspective, but we break the world into kind of like rows and columns, just being kind of like finance dorks. If the rows are sports, media, and entertainment, I would say the columns are typically businesses that own or operate intellectual property. So for us, those are really like our event businesses, then business services, and then technology companies. So as long as you're kind of within those rows and columns, I would say you're kind of fair game within the sports media and entertainment landscape.
Yeah, and you guys taking typically minority positions, majority, like go a little bit into the structure, how you guys are thinking about things, how you look to do deals, and just any mechanics even around, stage is kind of irrelevant now in today's age and time, but like how you're thinking about that also.
Yeah, I would say for us, it's typically we're looking to do majority. It's not an insistence that we do so, but more often than not, we want to put out enough capital to have a significant stake in the company, I would say. And then just in terms of kind of like scale or size, we're really targeting businesses that are established, maybe like lower market, lower middle market, that kind of thing.
Amazing. And as you had mentioned, last week we put out a newsletter on the creator economy, stirred up a lot of good conversation internally here at ProFluence, and you're thinking a lot more about that as well. Like curious to hear your insights and sort of these adjacent sides of the sports as well, and then also with founders on here, how they can take creator economy elements and start to implement them into their businesses.
Yeah, I would say like we've looked at creator businesses, both Velocity in terms of can this be a potential platform for us and like its own standalone investment? And then separately, should this be maybe something that's part of a bigger company? To me, and even just like our email traffic back and forth last week, this is a really, really unique time on the creator side of things. If you think about it, it really is the first time in the history of the world where the cost to produce is effectively zero via an iPhone, and the cost to distribute is effectively zero via social media or YouTube. And I'm not sure exactly, and I would even say like I'm not sure anyone has really found the exact perfect way to play it just yet. But those dynamics of kind of like cost being zero, distribution being zero, I think that's incredibly important. I'm not sure what it all means this exact second, but I think it's going to be an increasingly vital part of the story going forward, in particular in sports media and entertainment, where these are like community assets, right? So I think it's a pretty unique time.
Very, and as you're looking at the space now, any particular trends or other areas that you find interesting, you guys are looking at deeper, you guys are starting to be like, hey, should we make a play in this space?
I would say we spent a decent amount of time on creator live events in general, right? Which is kind of like the antithesis to AI. When you're working in sports and entertainment, everything to some degree is live or has a live component. Before we even started this recording, we were talking about the Knicks parade, the importance of community. I think those aspects come across more in person than ever. So yeah, I'm not sure if there's a specific, hey, we're targeting this, but we're always doing stuff out of the portfolio. If there's ways that we can be a creative or target a different capability or add a geography for an existing business, that's always of interest, I would say. And then we're definitively looking for our next platform.
And as you guys start to look at opportunities, how do you, evaluate the opportunity or the market itself, and then also the founder? Like, how are you looking at it as people are thinking, and I'm sure folks on here are raising capital of, balancing also the people running it and the management team, what are you guys looking for?
I think if one thing I have personally learned, like I think I started investing at Velocity when I was like 26 or so. The thing that surprised me more than anything is how important the operator is and having alignment with your management team. It is shocking. I would even go as far as to say, just being kind of in finance and being, people say like the ivory tower in New York, like that is a joke. Sitting at a computer and working in Excel is very different than how things come together in real life and working with people to kind of like make awesome outcomes. To me, if you have the right amount of capital, the right people around the table, and the right time horizon, I think you can get a lot done. But definitively having the right partnership with management and making sure you're backing the right entrepreneur or whoever it is everything.
Yeah, and something else on that, I guess the flip side is like any mistakes you've seen. Like I'm sure you've looked at deals or had LOIs for deals that ended up falling apart. Like anything sitting on the other side that founders should be aware of as they're talking to groups like yourself of things that could potentially, bundle up a red flag and kill a deal for even if it's something small.
I think like a deal killer would be tough. But I think just, speaking to founders in general, you should definitively make sure that you have alignment with the people that are alongside you. It's funny. There's always this kind of like dance of no one wants to say too much or go too far and no one wants to say the wrong thing. You need to make sure that you really are working with people that understand your business and you understand what their objective is. What's the time horizon? How much capital is it going to take to get there? Are we trying to go as fast as possible? Is this something that we're building out? Is M&A core to the strategy? Is this organic growth more than anything else? What kind of team and people around you do you currently have? How do you need to supplement that to grow? What different capabilities do you need to kind of like, take your business to the next level? And I think just having an open line of communication to doing so it won't happen otherwise, right?
Yeah, that's good points. But Dylan, when you look at decks as well, right? Like a lot of deals start there, warm intros. What are you looking for? What matters? What doesn't matter? What are you looking at when someone says, "Hey, here's an interesting deal and here's the deck." Like what catches your attention, or what do you not like, or what's too much, or what's a high level overview on that?
I would say it's just really important to be clear on what you're building. Like, frankly, a lot of companies that we see, they sound similar to something else that we've already seen. And I think getting over the hump of no, we're this really specific version of XYZ is like critical, especially before you get on the phone with someone. Otherwise, you get on the phone and it happens all the time where, they have a page referencing one thing in a deck, and that makes our team think that a company is doing, some technology component, but you get on the phone and they're really nothing like that. They're insurance to something else. So I guess just trying to be clear and having concise and transparent messaging is probably like the biggest differentiator in getting a second conversation and a third and a fourth.
And what's the best way to get in front of you guys that you've seen, or what works the best, for folks that, like, let's just say there's not a long-term relationship, right? They're trying to make it happen in a shorter time period. What have you seen as the best methods to get in front of you guys and that you've seen work, whether at Velocity or previous endeavors too?
Twofold. Obviously, like even if you have a semi-warm introduction, like that helps more than just cold outreach. Even if it's a friend of a friend of a friend and you can find a way to get to someone who's sitting in a seat, I think that's like more effective than people probably think. I personally have had pretty decent success cold emailing, like whether, I mentioned at the beginning, even transitioning from Rothschild to Evolution, like putting materials out there that kind of say, here's what we're trying to build and getting someone's attention that way, I have found to be effective for myself. Even when we're looking at businesses to invest in ourselves, like I will cold email and reach out to founders and say, hey, I saw this article about you. I think we can be a pretty unique partner. Maybe we can activate you across our portfolio. I found that works. And I think people are looking for almost like overlap that they can relate to, right? So if you put something in the email that's just so cold and it's the same email that you're sending to 50 people and you're blasting, I think that's really, really tough. And people see it right away and they realize, hey, there was no thought put into this. You went into Claude or Chat and you have a nice cold email, but it's not really to me, it's to everyone. If there's a way for you to make it feel like you did your work and for whatever the reason you think we are the right partner for you, or I think that Velocity is the right partner for your business, I think it just shows that you went one step further.
Yeah. Any other mechanics on that, or things like from the reverse of the founder side? Like, do you like people send like unique things like demos or memos or videos, or hey, I'll come meet you in
Definitively.
person?
Definitively. And the other side of it is like, how advanced is your company? If you're a series seed company or raising seed capital, you probably have less to physically show. But if you're a later stage and you have a business that's been around, giving case studies, showing reviews, or a formal deck or a formal demo, definitively that helps because it just makes it feel more real. I think and I don't know enough about like the early stage VC environment to tell you what works best there. I think if you were starting off with like really an earlier stage business, it probably is harder to say, hey, like here's what I'm building and here's why you should believe in it and take my call. I think that's probably true. And then it might make more sense to find a way via relationships to get there. Later stage companies, I would imagine it's easier, but that's just my gut.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Dylan, nice to meet you. So I have a two-part question. The first is I understand that the first Bevo was barbecued and served in the 1920 football banquet with the Aggies in attendance. So you guys literally
Are we
ate your
doing this
mascot.
already?
You guys
Are we doing
literally ate
this
your
already?
mascot. So I have a two-part question. Is that like the most Texas thing you've ever heard of? And are they still eating the mascot down at UT?
I'm gonna go no comment on eating of mascots. That's news to me. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that one. I am a massive Texas fan. I think we have a good shot this year. I was very disappointed we didn't make the college football playoff last year. It's probably why we need to overhaul in college football playoffs more generally. But yeah, the big Texas football fan for sure.
No comment on the eating the mascot.
I think that's going to be a tough one for me to take on.
All right, I got you.
I won't be eating any mascots. That much I can tell you.
Got it. Thank
You got a second part to that, to die, or we're leaving us all in the dark with this?
No, let's just keep it in suspense.
I love it. I love it. Randy, coming to you.
Yeah, I do have a question. Thank you, Andrew. So, Dylan, my question's a little bit different. You talked about, and thank you for being here. Very insightful. You talked about people reaching out to you in different ways. How often do you receive a FedEx with a handwritten note inside that says, hey, I know you get a lot of solicitation and I'm not trying to be annoying, but I'm the arch enemy of Texas, whatever the case may be, something personal. How often do you get like a FedEx with like a personalized note? And would that get your attention enough to maybe take a phone call?
Definitively it would. Frankly, I don't think I've ever gotten a FedEx, so you would be one of one, and one of one is typically good. Also, just the flip side is, I really do think people respond to cold emails when they're interested on something. And if it feels like there's a way to partner, and it doesn't feel as much like, hey, this was just, I shot 100 people a cold email, and it feels a little bit more tailored. that I think that comes across way better. And then the only other thing I'd say on that is it comes across better if you mean it, right? Like there's probably better partners for you, like put velocity to the side. I don't know what you're working on it, Randy, but if
I'm
there
not
are,
a founder. I'm not a
yeah,
founder. I'm just an interested party.
if there's anyone, right, like any version of trying to raise money or work with someone, if it doesn't come off as much transactional, I think that's like the way to go.
I like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
No,
Randy.
thank you.
So whoever sends a FedEx to Dylan first will be in a good spot, I guess, is a takeaway there.
Internationally, if I'm in the US, I think that's probably unlikely.
Economy.
Yeah. Appreciate the dialogue, guys, and I think that goes to a larger trend of just sports and entertainment mixing at rapid rates of bringing them together, right? Which is interesting of the
I
talent.
actually even would say like they're the same, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're a
100%.
fan of entertainment and a fan of sports, Andrew, this is like what we were talking about the other day. Like you might just be a fan, right?
Yeah.
Like you can be a fan of something that isn't sports.
What sports event doesn't have music now? I mean, they are
Fully.
the same. Yeah.
Fully. I think they are. And that blending is kind of like a lot of where I don't even know if it's like where it's heading as much as it's already happened.
Yeah.
And I think something you'll start to see is across each different type of category, like in this case, it could be women's rugby, but it doesn't have to be like we own a motorsports asset. We're always looking to go deeper into an existing category. And deeper means both the live component as well as the media component, as well as technology or business services around it. So kind of said a lot there and nothing at the same time. But my hunch is like you will continue to see deepening of fandom in different categories that don't feel like sports, I guess is really what I'm saying.
Dylan, you're the best, brother. Thanks for coming on, sharing insights. Yeah, have a great weekend, guys. This has been awesome.